Once they realize that there's no ceiling on inflation, they'll realize that there is a solid floor beneath both the gold price and the value of gold mining stocks. But the biggest gainer on the week was Bitcoin. Although it's hard to say because the week hasn't ended for Bitcoin, because while regular markets are closed, the Bitcoin market remains open 24/7, so it will continue to trade. Now, as I am recording this podcast, the price of Bitcoin is just under 51,000 per Bitcoin. That's a big move. In fact, a lot of that move happened today. In fact, all of that move, because a few hours earlier, Bitcoin was still trading around 48,500. In fact, today is the first day Bitcoin has traded above 50,000 in about 2 weeks. And I think this rally in large part resulted from a deliberate effort on the part of the Bitcoin whales to goose the Bitcoin price going into Christmas Day, because I think that people who have a vested interest in a rising Bitcoin price so they can sell what they've got, they want a lot of people talking to their friends and their family members this Christmas about their Bitcoin profits to try to entice more buyers to come in. And I think to do that, they want to have Bitcoin rising into Christmas Day. After all, if the price of Bitcoin were falling, that might have dampened the mood, and they want everybody feeling joyous about their unrealized Bitcoin profits when they see a lot of their family members that they haven't seen in a while, and they want to get these people into Bitcoin. Because again, this is a gigantic pyramid Ponzi type scheme, and it is completely dependent on new money flowing into the market. And having people feeling upbeat about their Bitcoin is a better way to do that. So in a very thin market, probably not too hard to drive the price higher. Plus, of course, in a week where risk assets did particularly well, as evidenced by the outperformance of the NASDAQ over the Dow, it's no wonder that Bitcoin did so well, because Bitcoin is a risk asset. And in fact, I was laughing. I was watching a discussion on CNBC's Fast Money, and all these guys are Bitcoin pumpers. They've all drunk the Kool-Aid. And one guy was pointing out how strongly Bitcoin was correlated to the NASDAQ, that it's now the highest correlation that he's seen in many, many months. And this apparently is a good thing, because it shows that if you want risk, you can buy Bitcoin. So if you believe that risk assets are going to go up, well, Bitcoin could give you the most bang for your buck. Now, of course, everybody has been marketing Bitcoin as a safe haven store of value, as digital gold. Well, if it was digital gold, it should somehow be correlated to gold. But if it's correlated to the NASDAQ, why don't they just call it the digital NASDAQ, right? It's not digital gold. If it's more highly correlated with tech stocks, then it's a digital stock. It's not digital gold. But admitting that Bitcoin is just a digital stock or digital property, which is the way a lot of people like to describe it, it's digital risk property as opposed to digital gold, which would be relatively low risk property, because gold is generally thought of as the risk off trade, as the inflation hedge, as an asset that you buy when you're worried about risky assets. If Bitcoin is the asset that you buy when you're bullish on risky assets, and you want to buy the riskiest asset of them all because you think that return is therefore correlated with risk, meaning the riskier the asset you buy, the more money you'll make if risk assets go up, how can you then describe Bitcoin as being a store of value and inflation hedge? And in fact, on the very panel where this guy is talking about how Bitcoin is highly correlated with the NASDAQ and is a great risk-on asset to buy in an environment where people are seeking risk and getting out of safe havens, I would have expected somebody to point out the inconsistency with that observation and the way Bitcoin is being marketed. But then somebody else on the panel said, I agree with you, but it's also a safe haven. It's also a store of value and inflation hedge. And, I almost fell off my chair, because look at the degree to which these guys are going to go out of their way to pump Bitcoin. They apparently think Bitcoin is both a risk on and a risk off asset at the same time. In other words, Bitcoin is the perfect asset as far as CNBC is concerned, because Bitcoin takes on the characteristics of whatever the buyer wants to believe. It's like a chameleon in that it kind of mimics whatever it happens to be on. So if you're looking for a safe haven and you're looking for a store of value, well, then you buy Bitcoin. On the other hand, if you're looking for a risky asset that could go way up, well, then you buy Bitcoin too. You can't lose. Bitcoin is good for any economic environment. Doesn't matter what you want. If you want a safe haven or if you want risk, Bitcoin is your solution. Bitcoin solves that problem, right? Bitcoin fixes it. These guys are completely delusional on that network to not understand the inconsistency of their view, because it's either one or the other. You can't be both, right? You can't be risk on and risk off. You got to pick one. The problem is the minute you pick risk on, you destroy the entire narrative of Bitcoin as digital gold or safe haven or an inflation hedge. But you can't deny that it's risk on, because all of the correlations with Bitcoin are to risky assets. And in fact, I also thought it was ridiculous that on the one hand, you have this Bitcoin bull talking about how great it is that Bitcoin is so heavily correlated to the NASDAQ, when once upon a time, the selling point of Bitcoin was its lack of correlation. People kept saying, hey, you buy Bitcoin because it diversifies your portfolio because it's not correlated to anything else that you own. They're now saying the reason to buy Bitcoin is because it's so highly correlated to the NASDAQ. In other words, there's always a reason to buy Bitcoin. They just keep making them up. Because initially you were supposed to buy Bitcoin because it was going to be a new medium of exchange. It was going to be a currency that was going to be used for transactions. And then the minute that didn't work, it was reinvented as digital gold or a non-correlated asset. Well, now we've abandoned that because it's no longer non-correlated. It's correlated to the NASDAQ. And it's not really digital gold. It's just a digital tech stock, except it has no earnings or it has no revenue, and it never will. It's just pure digital hype. It's risk on steroids.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.